viable vehicle with a strong blue book, as I see here. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And that's why it would make sense for we talked this morning, Mike, for you to use a federal grant and match it to purchase this vehicle, because you guys would be selling it, not looking to get rid of it because it's such high miles and it's been so hard used,
yeah.
correct?
And, to add on to that, Mike is always out in the field, we see him on fires, all kinds of emergencies, he's bringing water to people, food. Another thing is this vehicle is equipped with emergency lights. We do have to take out the blue lights, but we can leave some red lights in it, work out something with the radio. And then he's not having issues getting past the road closure or anything like that. He can identify himself and get in to assist us. With the other part of your question, yes, this wouldn't be a vehicle we would really normally get rid of at this time, but I think due to our budget shortfall, this would really help us out and help him out, help us. So I think it's an all-around good situation for the county.
Thank you for that. Mike, thanks for doing your homework on that. I appreciate the answers.
Thank you.
I think this is a good plan. I don't have any more questions.
So is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, that we approve the purchase of the 2010 Ford F-150 using the grant and the funds that Mike has saved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
So it's Nicole's. Nicole Brown, appointment of tax appeal board member.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a vacancy on my tax appeal board. I currently have 20 tax appeals that my county tax appeal board needs to hear. I do have one applicant, Jeff Longlinay. So I would like you to consider appointing Jeff Longlinay to the county tax appeal board. In my letter I prepared, which you do not have to sign, but I want to explain myself. I do have 2 years on here, but it's an expiration of 2020. So he would essentially serve on 2 terms of tax appeal board hearings potentially.
Okay, is that the normal, excuse me, the normal term?
Normally first year is 1 year, but that's also, we appoint them in January,
Yeah.
so
Okay,
I'm happy to change it. I just wanted to explain myself. I did
No,
put 2 years
that's
on
fine.
here.
and this will give you a full board, right?
This
So
would
you
give
can
me a
move
full
forward with some of these issues, yeah?
Correct.
Gotcha.
So would he finish out this year, then we have to reappoint him in January, or he would be January of 2021?
Yes, January 2021.
I'm grateful that somebody of Jeff's caliber is willing to step up and help us out. So huge thanks to him. Thanks also to you for reaching out to somebody again of that caliber. So I will move that we appoint Jeff Longlinay to the Tax Appeal Board for 2 terms as described by Nicole.
Is there a second?
No, second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to appoint Jeff Langley to the tax appeal board. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you have who is all on the board then now with this new appointment?
Currently, Jeff Joffrey and Chris Wright.
What's her name?
Chris Wright.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have a meeting, do they just meet like once a year, or?
We meet as needed. This year, obviously, there's a strong need, so October 3rd is our hearing date.
Thank you.
Are they open to the public?
Yeah, they certainly are. Mhm. Do you want a copy? I do. Let me just put it on your desk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
That's it for agenda items. We'll go back to the mail. See, first off, we have minutes of September 3rd, 2019.
I'll move that we accept the minutes from September 3rd, 2019.
Second.
Motion been made and accepted, and seconded to accept the minutes of September 3rd, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have a pile of claims. First approved claims in the amount of $40,086.87.
I will move to pay the approved claims in the amount of $40,086.87.
Second.
Motion been made and second to pay the approved claims at said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Payroll claims for 8/30/19 in the amount of $182,593.97.
That's payroll? Is that right, Mike?
What's that?
The
Payroll,
payroll.
yes.
I'll move that we pay the payroll claims in the amount of $182,593.97.
Second.
Motion made and second to pay claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Payroll claims 9/13/19 in the amount of $185,122.10.
I move to pay payroll in the amount of $185,122.10.
I'll second.
Motion been made and second to pay claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Approved claims in the amount of $2,379.
I'll move that we pay claims in the amount of $2,379.
I second the motion to pay the approved claims.
Motion made and seconded to pay the claims in approved amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
This is a Department of Public Health and Human Services Task Order Contract 27501004. Review and signed for the contract between Public Health and Department of Health and Human Services.
This is just a one-year task order, correct?
Yes.
I'll move to pay the task order as presented.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Motion's been made, second to play the contract between the Department of Public Health and Human Services and Broadwater County Health Services. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, let's see, Federal Licensing Incorporated for renewal of our license, for somebody, pay somebody to process our license. Then we have DEQ, postcard to notify you that the Montana Department of Environmental Quality has proposing to amend ARM 175213 and 175216 pertaining to motor vehicle recycling and disposal. Inspection permit solutions, inspect to go, cloud-based initiative.
On this federal licensing, this is for the radio system, so this should be given to the sheriff's office.
And I think that that's the one that we go through, they send us that every year when it's another fee that it's not the federal government.
Right.
right.
Now, we should be getting some of this also from TV, but this is not that.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention.
This is a card from the Broadwater County Farm Bureau, is 100 years old, cordially invited to the Broadwater County Farm Bureau Centennial Celebration, Sunday, September 29th, 2019, to 1 p.m. at the Lodge in Townsend. DEQ, public notice for application for a groundwater pollution control system, Fox Crossing 3 Homeowners Association. DEQ, on October 22nd, 2019, the Department of Environmental Quality will hold a public hearing to consider proposed amendments to the administrative rules of Montana 173660 pertaining to nutrient standard variances. The amendments are necessary to incorporate by reference proposed changes to department curriculum DEQ 12B, DEQ 12B. Rural Montana Magazine. Another Broadwater County health alert. Once again concerning vaping and all the wonderful things that has to do with everybody. The Montana Department of Revenue statewide school mill levies for fiscal year 2020. And this is a map that was forwarded to us by the city that shows new sidewalks that the Department of Transportation is putting in with no cost to the city or the county. There's 140 feet in front of the courthouse and the detention center. And then blocks to the east are also getting some needed replacements in the sidewalk in town. That's it for mail. Is there anything else to come from the commission?
I have a couple of things. You too,
Okay.
Daryl? Did I
No,
see you move forward?
don't go for it.
I got a call from FWP. They do the washouts of the boats, the clean, drain, dry stations. Last year, they stored their equipment at the silos, and they would like permission to do that again. I told him, of course, I'd bring it to you guys for a full commission approval or not. I don't see anything that hurts us.
Where do they store that?
I guess, down at the silos. And it's just kind of off to the side
Oh.
there. It's not in the way, don't even know it's there, unless you're purposely looking for it.
I'd be in favor of them storing
Yeah.
it there. I don't have a problem.
Perfect, three S's.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I will let him know this morning, or this afternoon, and send an email so that he's aware. And then, two issues I wanted to bring forward just for discussion, and this, Daryl, you brought this up in email, so I wanted to bring it forward. Anytime we have somebody who comes to us and says, I'd like a tax rebate, or I'd like my taxes forgiven, we have an obligation to research it, find out what the details are, and then move forward according to what the law says we can or cannot do. So, there was an email that the commission had asked, for, some resolutions requested by the commission. I was not aware of this, so I was kind of surprised. So any of those requests need to come to us first by law, and then we take it to the next step as a team. So what we have is, I'm just gonna, well, I'll deal with Raidersburg first. We do not have a request for tax forgiveness from the Radersburg School, the Radersburg Historical Association yet, that I have seen or has come through a public meeting. In order for us to even address that, we have to be given that request. And that is, I printed the title from Doug, and it is 1516-603. I also brought my law book if you guys want to look at it. So we really can't do anything until they come forward with a request. I'm not sure of the status of that one yet. If you guys are, please share. Anything on that?
I guess I'm trying to think back. I know Bill Lane came in. Do you remember Bill Lane coming in?
He's not with Radersburg. He's
No,
Toston, and that's
Toston.
separate.
And I thought I remember that.
Deb and Alan did
Deb
last
and
year,
Alan
but
came
not
in?
this
Did they not
year,
come in?
that I am aware of.
I guess I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at our.
I looked at the minutes for
Minutes?
the one meeting I missed because I was at the National Association of Counties meeting, and it is not there. So, we just need a formal
A
request,
formal- okay.
if they've even been denied. I don't know the status of that at this point. Again, if you guys do, please share. So with the Toston issue, and that would be Bill Lane, he did come in. We do have a letter here from Department of Revenue. And what it says is, processing this has been completed on the above referenced application and regretfully exemption is hereby denied. The evidence submitted did not support exemption as outlined in Part 2, Chapter 6, Title 15 MCA as amended, and I brought that as well. So, they didn't apply in a way that the law allowed for them to be exempt. Why not? What can they do? So, I understand that the church has a basement that's falling in. It should be possibly condemned. So I called Department of Revenue and I asked just a series of questions. What ifs? What can we do? What have other counties done? They were extremely helpful. But what we need is a plan from the folks in Toston. What I think we need to do is go to the Board of Health. If there is a condemnation issue with the building, we need to address that. Perhaps Bill Lane can come to the next meeting or the meeting after that. I will not be at the next meeting. I have Youth Justice Council this week. Also, we don't have a formal request for tax forgiveness. We have a verbal request. We need a letter to comply with that piece of it. And then the last thing is the resolution we have states in the title of erroneous property taxes, and then in the body says, as a result of an error in the assessment. Well, there isn't an error in the assessment, there's an error in the application perhaps, and that's where putting together a plan, we can assist these folks to have what they need to actually be able to get the tax forgiveness. My problem with just assuming and putting into a resolution that this is an error by Department of Revenue is we shouldn't be using the power of the county or our positions to jab it at Department of Revenue. We have a lot of reasons that we can be upset with DOR, the Heidecker decision, the centrally assessed last year, changing the valuations at the last minute. These things, missing properties, missing assessments that we have to pay for. These are all things we have a right to gripe about, and we have a right to address. This is not their error, and if we start putting into resolutions blame to just make a state agency look bad, we lose all credibility when we do have a real gripe. So I think these need to be redone, these resolutions need to be redone, and we need to include just the facts of the situation. And we need to follow the code, and if you guys want to review this or print out your own, it's 1615-6201. And again, I brought my book if you don't want the copied code. Any questions on that and how we should move forward or shouldn't move forward
Do we
yet?
want Bill to come to the Board of Health meeting?
I think that would be really good. I think he needs to come with a plan. So if the church is in danger of falling down, as a nonprofit, the law allows, and I'm not gonna say how because I don't have that memorized, but there are provisions in the law that they could actually give that to another nonprofit or a government agency, like the fire district perhaps, to do a fire training. But what Department of Revenue said is there's still value to the land. So if they're going to use the land in a way that complies with law, then they can get the tax exempt status. Or if they're a group that's no longer meeting, maybe they sell it and, get their group going again, or they can give that revenue or that property to another nonprofit, maybe one that follows their same mission. So there's a lot of different things they could do. I would suggest that after we get a viable plan, and a formal request, that we forgive the taxes for this year and then move forward. But I don't think we should just every year forgive the taxes as an automatic knee-jerk without following the provisions in MCA.
Right.
And without a plan. We need the P word.
Okay, so you're kind of thinking that this is more of just a request for forgiveness rather than an error.
That is absolutely correct. There is not an error on Department of Revenue's part for this one.
So would, if we grant this, request to not do we have to do that every year?
Well, my suggestion is we would do it for one more year with a plan. And the plan would spell out how they are going to make sure they comply with the law so that they are automatically exempt by Department of Revenue in the
Okay.
first place. It shouldn't keep coming back to us, because what happens to the county is we get the numbers from revenue that says, okay, your evaluation is such and such and you have this amount of money for your departments. And then when we get these back-ended requests for tax forgiveness, or if there were an error at Department of Revenue, that money comes out of the money we budgeted for. So we really need to have this taken care of on the front end. So I would suggest the plan is necessary for the long-term forgiveness of those taxes. Or if they don't comply in any provision of MCA, what is their plan for dispersing of the property or the asset?
Okay. And as far as Raidersburg, well, they just need to send us a formal request.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And it's my understanding, last year and from previous conversations, that they may not have had the correct paperwork. Again, perhaps we can help with that. Make sure they have the paperwork that they need. If they don't have it, maybe we can find it for them. I don't think there's any reason we can't help these folks, but that has to be part of the plan too. So we'll forgive it this year, but what's your plan for next year and moving forward?
Okay.
So I have one more if you're ready for me to move forward. So we do have a legitimate error by Department of Revenue, which is why I wanted to bring this one up after the other one. This is in your district, Darrell, and it's the Thornton property, which is the big house on the Jefferson River. So here is her letter. I think this went to the commission's email. This has a bunch of information in it, pretty interesting stuff, but they built a doghouse. And they've been taxed for their doghouse property. She's gone to the Department of Revenue. They said, yes, this is an error. I think we could all agree with that. So this is a Department of Revenue error. They have been overtaxed, and part of it is because of a doghouse. The records show far more square footage than they have. Part of it's because of the doghouse. So I went to Doug, and I went to Department of Revenue, did my due diligence, the research into this to figure out what are the things we need to know. It appears, and this is from 15/16/603, again from Doug, a refund may not be granted unless the taxpayer files a written claim with the Board of Commissioners. And so that's what I was talking about before. This has to be done within 10 years of the error first being found. However, the next section, which is subsection 3B, the refund required must be made for 5 tax years or for the duration of the error, in this case 10 plus, whichever period is shorter. So the law only allows us to give the last 5 years refund for the overpayment. But this is one I do feel we should go ahead and put together and have on the agenda for next week, if that's good, well, 2 weeks from
30th.
now,
Okay.
if that's good with you guys.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to email Julie and let her know that's our
Yeah.
plan. She doesn't have to be here. She's, again, this is pretty substantial what she's provided. Department of Revenue has concurred, and this is from Doug.
Can you share that with us later on?
Yeah, again, I think it was sent to the commissioner's email, but I will go ahead and forward this to both of you so you have your own
For some reason.
copies.
Okay.
And this was, took me a couple weeks, so I was getting them, August 28th is when Paulette DeHart responded to Doug's request. And that is all I have, other than I will be gone this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Youth Justice Council on Tuesday, and then the annual Montana Board of Crime Control retreat, Wednesday and Thursday in Fort Benton.
Anything else?
I don't know how important this is, but I think this came up at our department head meeting, and there was a discussion on, now that it's hunting season, about animal waste and how I wish Mary was here to talk about this a little bit more,
Oh, yeah.
but, wasn't the determination that it's okay to dispose of the carcass if they put it in the plastic bag?
Yeah, as long as you put it in the plastic bag, you can take it to the canisters.
Right. Otherwise, take it up to.
Otherwise, you gotta take it up to the transfer station.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there will be no meeting next week. We have Mako Conference in Great Falls. The next commission meeting will be September 30th. Anybody else have anything else?
Mike, may I
Yes.
ask a question? Shirley Wilson. Rumor has it on the street that the day the internet went down, there was no phone service in the courthouse or perhaps the hospital. Is that true?
I had phone service.
What day was that?
I can't tell you, but don't we have only Blackfoot service in the courthouse? And the day the internet was down, was there phone service here?
I don't believe I was here.
I'm trying to think, Shirley, I think it was intermittent phone service, but it wasn't real good, no, I agree.
So do we maybe need to retain a landline
We
or
do, yeah,
something?
we do have some.
And what about the sheriff's office? Were they in the same predicament?
They had some issues, yep, and they've been identified, and I think Mike Meyer is working out a solution for them.
Do you want me to speak to that, or?
Sure, go ahead.
I do. I'd love
Yeah,
to.
so we, in our 911 center, our Blackfoot lines did go down. We do have CenturyLink lines as well in there. They went down. Our computers went completely out, so the solution to that is we're going to keep, and you have 2 consoles, dispatch stations, so one's gonna stay CenturyLink with CenturyLink phone lines, the other one Blackfoot, so if one goes out, you have the other, if that one goes out, you have the other, and that's kind of our solution, so.
Okay, thanks,
I
Ryan.
think that's a good solution.
If there's no other thing, we will adjourn at 11:32. Yes, Alan?
Yes, I just have a question that's pertaining to the growth plan. Has that committee or come up with any type of a draft that the public can see for the county-wide?
The draft for the floodplain has been completed, and that's up in the clerk and recorder's office for you to look at. But that's all that's been done. We're still working on the CIP and the growth policy, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're still working on both of them.
Is there any way a person can, how do they present that information to where they're at this point to the public? Can someone, do they have something you can read look
Well,
at?
I think he's gonna go through and do a preliminary, and then there'll be, I believe they're set up for three public meetings on the growth plan, once it's developed, the rough draft. And then we'll have public meetings on that, and that's all being set up by, Great West Engineering and the planning board.
So that is when, that's, at that point in time is when the public input is put into
Yeah,
it?
yep,
Okay.
okay. So we will adjourn at 11:34. You gotta go to 3 days before then.
I know, we're staying at the Grand.
Huh?
We're staying at the Grand Hotel. Yeah. Oh, yes, there is.
No floating on the river.
We,
Yeah, but